Hello, everyone. I'm News 6 anchor Ginger Gadsden. Thank you so much for joining us. Today, we are going to talk about something that has been baffling to so many Floridians for so very long. And it's a very important topic, I think. Our state bird. And the person who has intimate knowledge about why our state bird is the bird that it is and not another bird is the perfect person for this. Scott Maxwell, he's the Orlando Sentinel columnist. And Scott, you have written about a lot of crazy things in your lifetime as a columnist, you said, and you said this is one of the weirdest thing. So the Florida state bird is the mockingbird, right? And it also is the state bird of 3 other states. So there's nothing unique about it. There have been repeated attempts to get the Florida scrubjay as the state bird. It's unique to Florida. Why is that so difficult?
That is a wonderful question, and it has a bizarre answer, Ginger. As you mentioned, I mean, I've covered a lot of weird stories and covering politics in Florida for more than 2 decades. Florida does weird the way like the shark from Jaws does eating swimmers. I mean, we do a lot of it. But this one is just baffling because, as you mentioned, the state bird of Florida is the mockingbird. And the reason that's a little unusual is that the mockingbird is everywhere. The mockingbird's habitat runs from Nova Scotia down to South America. It goes to California. It's the state bird of at least 3 other, I think maybe actually 4 other states. I think I've said before that naming the mockingbird like your state bird is like naming McDonald's as your official state restaurant. Everybody's got one, so there doesn't seem to be anything unique about it. And the fascinating thing is more than 20 years ago, almost a quarter century, it was like 23 years ago, a high school class, an environmental science class in Seminole County said, hey, well, this doesn't really make sense. There's nothing unique about this bird, whereas there is a very unique bird here in Florida, the Florida scrubjay. Florida is the only state where the scrubjay lives, and it's on the nationally threatened list for among threatened species. So they said, let's make this bird our state bird. It seemed like it should be a no-brainer, maybe a bird-brainer, but it has never been that simple, as you mentioned.
This poor bird, it keeps getting the bird from so many people. And the lawmakers, why can the scrubjay, the Florida scrubjay, not get any love? Why is that? I mean, really?
That it is because of one person, and everybody admits it's one person, and it is just bizarre. It is the former longtime lobbyist for the NRA, a woman named Marion Hammer, who has long been regarded as one of Florida's most powerful lobbyists because the gun lobby is pretty influential in Florida. And Marion Hammer hates the scrubjay with a white hot, absolutely bizarre passion. And when I say she hates it, I mean that this woman has gone to Tallahassee multiple times, testified in hearings about how much she loathes the scrubjay, and for very strange reasons. In one of her pieces of testimony, one of the reasons most people like the scrubjay is it's really friendly. Like it'll land on your head. It'll land on you. The scrubjay eats out of people's hands. Well, Marion Hammer, when she went to Tallahassee, testified that the fact that the bird would eat out of your hand was proof that, quote, it had a welfare mentality.
Welfare bird.
It's a welfare bird. And it's hard. There's like the stuff of why Marion Hammer so loves this cute little friendly blue bird is the stuff of Florida legends. You know, I thought maybe the bird pooped on her head at some point in time. There's been talk that the bird's habitat got in the way of a project she was interested in. Maybe she just really loathed the environmentalists. The Audubon Society was actually the one that first floated this idea. She won't really say, except to say that she really likes the mockingbird and really dislikes the scrubjay.
I mean, it feels personal at this point. It's almost as if she were involved in some sort of Hitchcock scene out of the birds, and it was just the Florida scrubjay that attacked her. Do you ever, I mean, it's been the state bird since 1927, and so many people agree that, okay, Floridians are unique. We love things that are different. Boy, if there were ever an example of something that is different, this is it. You don't find this bird anywhere else. And even, I think it was Senator Jeff Brandeis, he was like, we need a flashy bird. I mean, it's not that flashy, but it's better than the mockingbird.
Yeah. And as you mentioned, you sort of joked and you alluded to in your opening, this is not the most pressing issue that Florida has. However, what's unique about it is that virtually everybody who studies this issue agrees that Florida has the wrong bird. And everybody who studies this says the scrubjay should be it. In fact, this started from a teacher in Seminole County named Chris Cole. And he tells the story of how he started. He read a blurb about 1999, I think it was. The Audubon was pushing for the scrubjay over the mockingbird. Chris Cole said he did not care. He could not care less. He was just looking for an assignment. He said, so students study, see what you think. And the vote came back like something like 153 to 3. Where everybody who studied it said, well, this is ridiculous. Why we have the mockingbird instead of the scrubjay. So then he said, well, if you care about it, do something about it. And they began lobbying. Everybody thought it would be sort of a cute, a nice thing. Students making a difference, getting a civics lesson. Well, I'd argue they are getting a civics lesson. They are getting a lesson in who really pulls the strings. And most legislators in Tallahassee offer no good excuse for why this shouldn't be the scrubjay, other than the fact that Marion Hammer does not like that bird.
I mean, Florida does have a reputation for if the world tells us we're doing something wrong, then we double down on it. So maybe that's it. I don't know. Do you think it is possible? Do we need to make it more attractive, something to make it a sexier bird? Should we give it like a dating site? Should we put it on a little app?
So you want the bird to have a marketing team, it sounds like.
Correct.
Yeah. I think, or maybe we would just say that the mockingbird is in bed with Disney or fond of drag queens, something like that would make but I think you're onto something. There does seem to be something about Tallahassee in particular where they're kind of intractable. They don't like to be told what to do. In this case, I mean, I've visited with these kids. I went and sat down. This has been passed along from one class to the next. It's a fascinating thing. There are now students who started on this in 1999 who are 40 plus years old and are still working with the current generation to try to do this. They say it's sort of a feel-good thing. They feel passionate about it, but they also are just really troubled by why the state will, as you point out, seemingly nonsensically refuses to indulge them. They did have, I should note, finally some success this year, minor success. Seminole County, where these kids at Seminole High are located, went ahead and voted to make the scrubjay the official county bird in Seminole. So they made one county's headway, and now they have 60 some counties to go.
Yeah, it's got to start somewhere, and to be honest, most people who don't live here think that our state bird is the flamingo anyway. And there was
You're exactly right. Well, I was going to say the Audubon Society has actually had some contests to sort of discuss what bird could be the state bird, and the flamingo often gets a lot of votes, even though flamingos are not very common in Florida outside of like SeaWorld and Busch Gardens and places like that. But yes, there's something distinctively Floridian about the flamingo. I think what you would hear folks from the Audubon, even these students and others say, is that there are any of a number of birds that would be pretty distinctly Floridian that would send some message about maybe protectionism or something that represents the Sunshine State far more than a bird that's flying around Nova Scotia and San Bernardino, California.
Yeah, if you had to really just place your bets right now, would you think that the Florida scrubjay would become the state bird in your lifetime, Scott?
I like that question, and I am not typically an optimistic. I'm more of the glass is 90% empty most of the time. But I got to tell you, this sounds a little silly or corny. I really felt inspired after sitting down with these kids. They were not going to be daunted by this. They talked about how when they would travel to Tallahassee, legislators would tell them, you got a gun lobbyist and she's not going to let you have this happen. Let this happen. And they would smile and they'd say, well, we're going to keep trying because that gun lobbyist won't be around forever. The current legislators won't be around forever. And I think there seems to be a few more people sponsoring this legislation each year. I'm going to remain optimistic. I'm going to let the kids' optimism contaminate me for a change and say, yes, before I die, we will see the scrubjay.
Oh, I love that. Okay, so one county down, 66 more to go.
Right.
It's one county at a time. Orlando Sentinel columnist Scott Maxwell, it's always fun to talk to you. Thank you so much for your insight on this very, very important subject. But I love it. I love it. We'll check back with you at some point when it does happen, because I'm with you. I'm an optimist as well.
Thanks so much, Ginger. I think it's fascinating. Thanks for having me.
All right. Thank you, Scott.